Hey, 3D animation class, welcome to your week 3 lecture. So last week we talked a little bit more about just general animating ideas, and then we looked at kind of what the deal is with armatures. And so today's lecture, we're going to jump right in and look at your assignment 2, which is due in 2 weeks. And then I'm going to kind of walk through this sort of together how I would do this assignment. So looking over at D2L, let's go to assessments and assignments. And here in assignment 2 is parkour. So animate a character performing parkour. You may download and use the Sky Merged Mesh character model or a character model of your finding or creation. Your character should perform a minimum of 3 stunts. Aim for accurate hand and foot placements with realistic movements. Your cameras should support the action. Please submit your Blender file and a rendered video. This is worth 20 points. Character animation with minimum 3 parkour stunts. 4 points, effort put into realistic movements and foot/hand placements. 3 points for submitted Blender and video file, and 3 points for non-time subversion. As you hopefully know by now, reading these out loud, it's sort of like, oh, Nolan is very demanding and he has very specific expectations. And that is not true. Just, they're guidelines. The goal of this assignment is to practice animating a character, a rigged and armatured character. Let's see what these links are, because I don't remember what they are from. I just copy pasted from last year. Stunts amazing. So, parkour is people doing things like this, but then also running around and doing flips and stuff. So, and I said realistic, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be this wild. It could just be jump from one log to the next and slide down a slide. And it can be very basic things. Now I will say though that as with any type of animation or modeling, it's super helpful to have reference images and reference videos. So if you wanted to take a piece of this video that I linked and try to mimic part of it, that would be great. Look at this guy doing a flip. And then it would help you to actually come up with what it looks like in real life. Let me go back to the assignment. So what I am going to show you, and what this link is right here, is a Blender it's made by Blender. This is a character that is rigged and ready to animate, called Sky. So if you click this link in the assignment, you'll download a zip file, and within will be a handful of Blender files. So there's actually lots of different animation things that they have in here. The one that I'm going to use is Sky Merged Mesh. It's the bottom one. So you can extract this zip or copy this one out of here, which is actually what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to copy this into Fall 24, Sky Merged Mesh. And then, oh man, my folder is a mess. Where is it? Pause. All right, here we go. And I'm going to open up Sky Merged Mesh. So one thing, this is actually a good opportunity to just remind you about workspaces. So this is a Blender project file that somebody else made. So it looks a little different. It doesn't have the default workspace. So you can kind of set this back to the way you want. One easy way is you can just hit the plus button and go back to general and go to layout like this, and it'll add the default layout thing back here. But also remember, so this was set to default here. You can change any of these windows. You can hit the N key to bring these things up, or T to bring these things up, or you can change this to be, a different thing. But I find it easiest just to hit the plus button up here along with the workspace bar and just bring up the old layout one, the one I'm used to. Okay. I actually need to look at this just a little bit. So last week we talked about the difference between forward kinematics and forward kinematics and inverse kinematics. So by default, the Sky merged mesh rig has both. It has inverse kinematics on the legs and forward kinematics on the arms. So with Sky rig selected here, you can hit our mode drop down here and go to pose mode, and this allows us to change the pose. So let's start with the feet. So the legs have inverse kinematics. So if you grab onto the green, or if you click on, so we're in pose mode. If you click the green ovals on the feet, if you tap G to move it, you can see that the whole leg moves, the knee bends, the hip bends, etc. Right click to undo that. Oh, I gotta turn my keystroke thing on. All right, there we go. The other thing of note here is these green balls. This is called a pole target. So this is like attached to the rig in a way using constraints, but that the knees will point at these green balls. So the left knee will point at this one. So if I G to move this up and then left click to apply it, I can take this and move this to kind of move the knee like that. Right click to undo that, undo. The other bits here, I believe, yeah, so you still have some forward kinematic control over this, but it's a little bit goofy and probably not what you want to do with that anyway. So like if you're using this by default, or using the default rig, this is called the rig, the parts that control the armature, just use the feet, just use the inverse kinematics. So the around the waist here, there's this green one too. This is also in a way doing inverse kinematics, because it'll keep the feet locked where they are, but it'll move everything else kind of according to it. And so then the rest, all these blue handles up here, these are forward kinematics. So the only way to move the arm is kind of one bone at a time. So you'd have to rotate like this, then rotate like this, then rotate like this, So it's a little bit more tedious. Oops, I rotate that. So, undo, etc. Okay, so you are welcome to use this as is. But now I'm going to show you one more thing that you can do to create your own rig, or it's not your own necessarily, but to create a new rig using the Rigify add-on, which is included in Blender. So you don't have to download anything. It's already in Blender. You just have to enable it. And this is in case you want to have a little bit more control over the Sky Merged Mesh rig, or if you are using your own character or one that you downloaded. This is the method I would recommend to create a rig in a pretty easy way. So what I'm going to do is pause real quick. The other thing too, I believe, before I go down that path, I believe, yeah, you do the, so this is like the shoulder. The eyes are separate here, because if you twirl open the Sky rig here, you can see there's actually three pieces. There's the body, the right eye, and the left eye. We'll deal with that. So actually, you can always go back to this. You can always go back and re-download this to this point. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this rig and then show you how to use the Rigify. I already kind of mentioned that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to object mode, which I'm already at. I'm going to do A to select all, and I'm going to remove the parenting. So remember, like last week when we talked about using an armature, we would parent the mesh to the armature, and we would do armature deform. Now we're going to unparent. We're going to do the reverse. So Alt P is our clear parent. And let's clear parent and keep transform like this. So now we can see we have things kind of moved apart here. So we have the Sky rig here as an object, and then we've got the eye, and the body. So I'm going to delete the Sky rig here. This has all the armatures and bones and stuff in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. So we're just left with the thing, and just because it can be complicated, I'm also gonna join the eyes onto the body, just so that it's Nice. It's one nice mesh. So I'm going to do, what I did, the order that I did this was intentional. I selected one eye and then the other eye and then the body. So the body is the active selection. So when I join, they're joined to body. Okay. Now let's enable the Rigify add-on. So we go to our edit menu, go to preferences, go to add-ons, and search for Rigify, Rigify. Here it is. It should be in there because mine's in there. And then you just have to check the box. Say it. Rigify on. Box is checked. If you twirl it open, there's a bunch of stuff in here that you can look at if you want. Okay, Rigify is enabled. All right, there's one more thing I'm going to do before we start putting the rig on. So, and this is a good thing to kind of check for and get in the habit of adjusting is if I look at my geo body mesh here and I go to the object properties here, just the regular transform properties, you can see that actually all of these are locked and they're off by just like a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to uncheck all these locks here. So that I can apply the transforms here. Because the scale X, this like when the scale is off by just a little bit, that makes me nervous. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to object transform and object apply all transforms like this. And then everything is nice and even, just like this. Okay. Now let's do Rigify. So I'm gonna do my front view like this. I'm gonna go Shift A. And I'm going to go down to armature. And now that Rigify is enabled, we have these Rigify meta rigs here. And I'm just going to do basic human like this. And it has, just like the basic bones. So I'm going to S to scale this down just so that it's sort of close like this. And then once again, I'm going to apply the scale. I think this, like, a lot of times people have problems with like the rigs not lining up or things moving around, and sometimes it's because these transform properties are like just different. So this is my safety thing. I always just go, is it Control A? Apply all transforms like this. Okay. Final step here. I want to make this visible in front. So with the meta rig selected, I'm going to put these in the same bin there. My meta rig is selected. I'm going to go to visibility and I'm going to, viewport display and show in front. There we go. Okay, let's edit this real quick. Tab to edit. And I'm also going to turn on X-ray, or not X-ray. This is like the mirroring. So any bone that I move on the right is going to move on the left. So I'll turn this. That's this checkbox up here, the little butterfly. And now I'm just going to position these things. So like, you can grab bone or joints like this, just move them around. You can see as I do the ones on the right, they move on the left. Just getting things close, and actually by scaling it, it did a pretty good job. I'm gonna do 3 to do my side view like this, kind of move that down to the heel, the knees right there. It's good. It's a good idea to try to put the bones about where they would be in, an actual human body. Obviously, like you don't have a bone that goes straight through your head, but because that helps things like deform in more of a natural way. So like, for example, like your elbow, like the joint is like near the back of your arm. You've got a lot of like meat in the front like this. And so like when you bend, it kind of like it scrunches up here and there's just like a little bit of stretching that happens on your elbow. Whereas like if you put your bone on the other side, it would be like the reverse. It'd be like a lot of extra floppy bits on the back here. You kind of get what I'm saying. Back over. Let me just do top down view, just try to line things up a little bit. And thankfully, this is a pretty just nice and crisp and even rig. So I'm just going to move these things here. This chest one, we'll just kind of move back just a little bit like that. Hips, sure. Let's see. I don't really know what these ones are for. I'm going to move this one up a little bit. GZ, try to make sure these bits stay right in the center. I don't know what this is. Does that need to move? Does this need to move? Does this need to move? Sure. Okay. Oh yeah, let me move like just the foot out a little bit like that. Knee should come out a little bit. Hip I don't know, here like that. Okay, cool. Now, this oftentimes will give an error, but let's just try it. So I'm going to go tab back into object mode. We're going to do armature deform with automatic weights. Actually, you know what? I don't think we need to do that right now. So actually, first, let's do this. Click the meta rig and go to the object data properties like this. You can collapse bone properties or whatever it was. And down here we have Rigify. And I'm gonna hit generate rig. So this actually, you can see that it made all these crazy handles and stuff for our thing. And now we need to do, rather than armature deform with automatic weights to the armature, we're actually gonna do it to the rig. So you can see we've got three things on our scene collection here. There's the mesh, the armature, and the rig, even though the armature is called meta rig. They're essentially, the same thing. So first I'm going to select the mesh, then I'm going to hold down the shift button and click the rig. So the rig's the active selection. I'm going to do Control P, armature deform with automatic weights. Boom. It worked and I didn't get any errors. If you get errors and it does happen, sometimes it's because these, or even like when you try to generate the rig, sometimes it's because the bones aren't like touching. I think one of these ones can become separated like this. Yeah, like this one. This one can become separated. And so all you need to do is if you select these two things, I believe you can right click and you can snap. No. What would be the best way to do this? You could probably do this. So select this one. You can do Shift S, cursor to selected, and then select the other one here and go Shift S, selection to cursor. So that means they're exactly together. For whatever reason, these two bones on the neck, or these two joints on the spine, need to be in exactly the same spot. So if you get an error, that's the reason. Anyway, we already have our rig, so I'm going to armature deform again, Control P, automatic weights. There we go. And now if I go into pose mode, you can see I've got all of my things. And you know what? You can even like just totally hide the meta rig now because you don't even need it. So let's analyze this one a little bit. So this one has a few more controls, but it has IK and FK, inverse kinematics and forward kinematics for all the arms. So we can see hand here. Hand's doing this thing. Although the handle is like a little bit sideways, but that's fine. We've got like a torso control here. We've got IK on the foot as well. You can see that there's also these green handles like this. And if I try to move these green handles right now, they're not doing anything. These are the forward kinematic controls. And by default, they're not enabled. So let me show you how to switch between those. So if you tap, if your mouse is in the 3D viewport here and you tap N, there we go. These controls come up. So since we're in pose mode on the rig, and if you open up the item tab here along these tabs, we have the rig main properties. So I believe. So you can turn off these rig layers. So the blue ones mean like all of them's on. So there's like arm IK and arm FK. Arm IK, arm. So the green ones are the forward kinematics. So like you can click those to like hide them so you don't see them. I usually also don't use the tweak ones, but you never know. Torso, tweak, yeah. If you turn these back on, you can toggle, let's see, is it on a per? I'm trying to think. If I go to object mode, rig layers. You might have to do it one at a time. So if I select the arm like this, you can see there's IK and FK hand.L. So because I've selected the left hand here, IK to FK. So this is like a scale between it's a scale, but really it would either be 0 or 1. So right now it's on 0, so it's on inverse kinematics like this. If I drag this value all the way to the right and make it 1, now it's all the way FK. So moving this does nothing, but now moving these green ones does everything. So that's how you change it from forward kinematics to inverse kinematics. It's this slider here, IK to FK. So right now it's all the way at 0, so that's IK. And so you can do it per hand. The other thing you can change here, so the stretch is set to 1. So if I move this out, the arm will stretch forever. If I turn the stretch down to 0 like this, the arm will not stretch. It'll get to its total distance here, and no matter how far I pull this out, it'll move. So the Rigify rig has a lot more controls. It has options. You can choose to do IK or FK. You can choose to do stretch and things like that. So, and it's per limb. So now that I have the right limb selected, I can make the right limb stretch. I can make the right limb IK or FK, etc. So how I'm going to do it is I'm going to turn off the FK because I just like to do IK a little bit better. I'm going to turn off the IK controls and on all the limbs here. And anything else? I don't normally do tweak, but I'll do it. So now as parkour, I'm going to go back into object mode and I'm going to hit N to close this. So I need a few obstacles for my character to jump over. So I'm going to go Shift A or interact with. I'm going to start with the plane. And actually, you know what? Because my 3D cursor is like on the spline there, I'm going to go Shift C to reset my 3D cursor to be at the ground there. And I'm going to go Shift A, add a plane, and scale it up just a little bit like this. And I'm going to do Shift A, I'm going to add a cube, and scale that up a little bit, scale it up even bigger. Things will clip a little bit and it'll be fine. And then I'm also going to do a torus like this. And I'm going to open up my Add Torus menu, which is behind my head. And let's see, whoops, add torus. And I want it to have a little bigger major radius and a little smaller minor radius. He's going to jump through a hoop. There we go. Cool. And then I'm going to RX90 like this and do my side view and move it like this. It is quite a large hoop, but that's all right. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to keep it pretty simple. My character is going to start on the top of the thing, do a flip down, and then like vault through the thing here. Through the ring. Okay. All right, so I mentioned when I was doing the ball last week that I just like to block things out. Like first it's here, then it's here, then it's here. And an important thing to be aware of is animating, especially with the character, animating the object versus animating the pose. And there are reasons to do it, each way. So for example, with your assignment 1, you were just animating the object as a whole because it's just like the object moving. I encourage you to not animate the object to not animate your rig object because you may want to like move the object as a whole somewhere else, or you may need to like put it in a different place or copy and paste or something like that. And so if you have a bunch of keyframes on the object, that makes it hard. So if you're animating the pose, it's easy to then kind of move your object as a whole somewhere else if you need to. So I'm going to go into pose mode, and I'm going to start with, why don't I get my animation kind of a little better here. And I realize, let's see, what is keyframed here? There's a keyframe on here, and I'm going to delete it. If you tap A, it's going to select all the parts of it, and that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to go to my side view like this, and I'm going to select just the root, and I'm going to G to move the character up here, right here. Oh, and there's also this marker in here. Can I delete marker? Delete marker. Whoops. Marker, delete marker, delete. There we go. when you open up somebody else's project file, you never know what you're going to find. Okay, so first step, I'm going to go to frame 0. For some reason, I like to start on frame 0. And I'm going to do K, and I'm going to do location rotation like this. Boom. I don't think I'm going to be doing the scale at all, so I'm just going to do location and rotation of stuff. Then I'm going to go to, I don't know, how long is it going to take to run up to the edge here? So then I'm going to go G and kind of move them up to the edge here like this. And I could turn on auto keying, but I'm not in a hurry at this moment. So I'm going to do K and I'll do available like this. So now we're moving, the characters move from here to here. And then they're going to jump off. So they'll go kind of up like this. And then K, add a keyframe here. And then they'll be down here like this on the ground. And K, available. Then they'll move, whoops, and then I need to move forward in time. I'm going to go G to move like this. And K to add a keyframe. And then they'll be up like this. G here. K, available. And then there'll be G down here like this. K, available. So here we go. Up, down, flip. So this, we'll just give it the little like test here. How does that speed feel? So it feels a little awkward. So like this speed feels normal. This is way too slow here. We're just like floating off. So we gotta go. That feels pretty good, and then into there. So I'm just like trying to get a little sense of it. Nice. So like, you got to do a lot of this by feel. Does that feel too awkward? Does it feel too slow? Then you'll get a sense for it. The key, no pun intended. Don't get bogged down with trying to do a bunch of like little movements all together, because the more keyframes you have, the more like complicated and complex it gets. So like the more that you can kind of block things out with less keyframes, try to get the general timing right first, then you can start to add some of those details like footsteps or like body movements and stuff like that. So I'm just going to continue. Note one thing that I didn't do, and I see students do this, and I think I even maybe at one point instructed people to do it this way. But if I'm gonna have this character do a flip here, I'm not gonna animate the root spinning around, because of like the way the anchor point works. Like if I rotate this, like they'll like rotate around their feet. Like, like this, and that is strange. And it's much harder to compensate for that. That's like, well, then you got to move them down and then you got to move them up so that it looks like they're spinning in a spot. So that's just the deal. The other thing I'm just going to make sure that I have set right away is my frame rate. So I'm going to my output properties here, and I'm changing my frame rate to 30 just because I want a little bit higher frame rate, and then it'll move just a little bit faster. And I said in the prompt that I want it to go for realism, but like it can be stylistic. It doesn't have to be realistic here. The other thing here that I'm going to twirl, is it T in here? No, I think you just have to click on this little tiny arrow so that we can see the summary here. So we can see that these keyframes are on the root, which is, if we look at this, it's the big arrow thing on the bottom. Okay, so the root is animating. Do we dare do auto keying? Let's. Okay. I'm gonna turn on auto keying, and let's get our character kind of into a ready position here. So I'm gonna G and kind of move this down, kind of lean forward a little bit. We're keying all of these bits. So when you have auto keying on, it's going to add a keyframe anytime you change something to that piece of the rig. So like now the torso has a keyframe. And so you kind of have to remember that. So like later, if you're like, oh, I want to change the torso again a little bit, and it's only the second keyframe, it's going to slowly animate from this first keyframe. So you kind of have to keep an eye on what has keyframes. A quick thing to do is when you're working in pose mode, just tap A so you can see all of the pieces of the rig and all of the things that have keyframes on them. So right now, my root has a bunch of keyframes, my torso has 1 keyframe. So I'm still on frame 0 or frame 1 if that's your thing. I'm just going to try to get into like a little ready position here. So I'm going to go G Shift Z to kind of slide this first one forward. And I'm going to go G Shift Z to kind of slide this back one forward. And then I'm also going to go to my side view, and we can lift the heel up a little bit. So I'm going to kind of rotate the heel like this. So this little control here on the back will move the heel. Again, if you're seeing this, or like if you're doing this with the default rig on the Sky Merged Mesh, you're not going to have some of these controls, and that's fine. Maybe this will be your motivation to use the Rigify. So anyway, I'm going to G move this down, R rotate like this. So you kind of get used to like what angles you need to be at to rotate things, and it's just experimenting. All right, so we're almost in a ready position. I just need to move this hand here. This hand is also going to just kind of be G. This is G R. It's all G and R, G and R, G and R, G and R like this. I'm also going to move the elbow out a little bit like this because my elbows were maybe a little narrow. Okay, here we go. So we've got a ready position here. So because there aren't any other key, the only thing that has keyframes over here is the root. If I tap A, you can see, okay, the IKL, IKR, the heel, IKR, that all has keyframes. And then the root has more keyframes over here. So let's just start to move stuff around. Okay, so maybe like along here, we want to have, a step going the other way. So one thing that's handy is especially if you have a symmetrical character, you can copy and paste inverse a pose. So what I'm going to do is I have all selected. I'm going to select all these keyframes here. I'm going to do Control C to copy. And then if I do right click, you can, or not paste inverse, but paste flipped. Shift Control V like this. And it only did the hand. Do I need to select all of them like this? Maybe do I do all like this? Control C, Control Shift V. Oh, there we go. But I didn't want the root. I don't want the root. I want everything except the root because I want the root to continue to move. So you can see the root is the one that is gray that I don't have selected, and I want to select all these. I'm going to do Control C, Control Shift V over here. The torso is not changing, so I can I can tell the torso isn't changing, so maybe I remove that keyframe, maybe I leave it there. The heel IK, so the heel wasn't moving, so we do need to just kind of animate that one on our own. So if we'll move this down to be flat like this one will move up like this, but then we'll go back here and move this one down. So we're doing like a foot shuffle. I'm gonna try to, not do too many like in between keyframes yet. But we're just trying it out. All right, where was I? Sorry, I took like a 2-hour break in the middle of recording this. All right, we're animating a character. So first thing I did was I blocked stuff out. Now we're having the legs move a little bit. So one thing that can be handy for helping to block things out is just copying, pasting keyframes. So I mentioned the paste reverse, and so now that we have it like a left and a right, we can just copy all those. So if I hit A to select all of the parts of the rig, I can select all of these ones here, not the root, but select all these ones. And I can copy and paste here like this, so we can see that they're going in reverse. I don't know why the heel is having a hard time pasting like that. Dum, dum. Now we'll try it again here. The torso is not moving at all, so I don't know why I'm copying that. Paste, copy, paste. Select all these. Copy, paste. There we go. Let's also maybe mess with our flip a little bit. So I'm just starting to add a few more keyframes. I'm really not trying to dial in like each foot placement or each, whatever. That'll come. So I'm not trying to have like too many spots where there's keyframes. But let's just keep working here. So here I'm gonna let's copy paste this one again. Copy paste here. The other thing that you might do, like when a big transition happens, you might like just keyframe everything. So if I do A to select all like this, I could do a K location rotation like this for all of the parts of the rig too, just to like have like this is a point where something changes, so that, as you can see now, like everything down here has a keyframe. So like hips, chest, thigh, all that stuff. Just so that we can like know that like this is a pivotal moment here. But I think I'm maybe not going to do that for now. I'm maybe just going to keep the ones I have keyed here. And at this point, let's see. So we're stepping, and then I don't know. So here, we're starting to flip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to just remember to only use the things that I have keyed so far, including the torso and the foot, hand, heel, stuff like that. So remember I mentioned that like rather than rotating the root like this, I'm going to try to rotate the individual parts of the body. So what's going to happen first is, I think the torso is going to turn like this, and I have auto keying on, and then the hands are going to G and rotate like this, a little bit like that. The other thing that's going to kind of happen is like the feet are going to kind of tuck up like this, and this maybe, well, we'll leave the heel like that for now. So and this way, because we're just leaving the root to where it is and not rotating the root, it's going to be easier to just kind of have our kind of rotation happen compactly rather than like doing a big swing. The other thing to be aware of though is that like you have to have with things that are going to like swing all the way around, you have to have enough keyframes for the rotation. Otherwise it's just going to like snap from one place to the other, and it might not even rotate in the direction you want. So I'm going to add a few more in-betweens than I typically would. So I'm going to go forward a few frames. I'm going to rotate this down a little bit further. I'm not going to worry about the head too much. But I'm going to say that the legs are going to kind of start to come back like this. The feet are going to kind of come back like this. Maybe I will move the heel down at this point. So I'm going to G move the heel down and move that down, and then move the foot back a little bit like this. So look at what happened. Now, now something has happened. We're walking on toes, which is not what I intended. I maybe grabbed the wrong thing. So if I move this back, no, something has changed. I've moved something. It might be the hips. It might be because I moved the hips. Let me see what's happening again here. This is the joy of character animation. There's a lot of like messing around, and this is exactly what I talked about with. You may change something, and it may be the first time that thing was keyframed, and so then that little change in the ankle or in the shoulder or in the whatever is going to be maintained throughout the whole animation. So maybe what I should have done, and I am going to do this because I don't think it's that much of a hassle. I'm going to undo a bunch of these. I'm going to undo pretty much all this animation. So here we are. We're at this point, and then right here, let me see. Let me do A for all. I am going to go K, and I'm going to keyframe everything here. because I know that everything up to this point is pretty much the way I want it. And now I'm going to start to do this stuff. So now we're going to rotate here like this. The knees are, this is going to come down. Oops. This is going to move up and rotate a little bit like that. The knees start to come in. Rotate like this. Hands kind of tuck in maybe like this. Hey. Okay. I'm going to move forward in time a little bit more. Let's rotate the torso like this. Feet start to come back a little bit. Feet go like this. I don't know. What do your hands do when you do a flip? They tuck in. This is going to come in like that. Just try to get the angle right on that. To my side view again. How's that looking? Okay, move forward a few frames. Let's just keep the rotation going. Rotate a little bit more this way. Move the feet. Hands kind of come out a little bit like this. Maybe rotate the hands a little bit. How's this looking? All right, keep it going. We need to finish this flip before we hit the ground. We're falling fast. Oh, don't grab the butt there. Okay, rotate this even further. Let's start to have this happen a little bit faster. I'm gonna grab both of these feet and sort of rotate them a little bit like this. This foot needs to come in a little bit more. Hands, rotate. Hands rotate like this. We'll do one more like rotation like this so that things start to come around here. Let's see how this looks. I think this my first. So look at how spread apart my keyframes are here. Let me do A to select all like this. So you can see that like from here to here, there's not a whole lot happening. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these keyframes here. With my playhead on the beginning, I'm going to go S to scale those down like this, so that they're happening a little bit faster. And really, it's the gap between these first few here. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to drag this window in like this so I can get in a little closer. Let's bring that one frame in, bring this one frame in, bring these maybe 1 or 2 frames in. But see, now it's happening too fast. So scale these out again. Okay, but now I'm actually feeling better because now that we're falling faster, I can just start to straighten this out a little bit. So let's kind of rotate these a little bit more, bring these down, and rotate these a little bit. We're going to start to open up a little bit. Hey. And then what I believe I can do is, if we go all, let's select, we want to select all the keyframes here at the at this one here, so I can actually click on this top one and it'll select all the ones underneath. I'm going to go copy and paste. Nope. Oh, because I don't want the root. Don't want the root. Deselect the root, and then I can do copy paste here like this. And then, of course, we need to move those to when we hit the ground. But they did the like backwards flip thing. So take a look at what's happening. It flips, and then because, yeah, darn. Okay, let's undo that. Undo that. Don't want to do that. Let's try to go. Just have everything come back to the ground here like this. So on frame 59, we're hitting the ground. I'm going to rotate this back to a sort of normal position like this. Let's rotate these. Try to get the feet underneath. And I maybe should have done a little bit more. Because what are the hands doing? notice that sometimes when I do this, I hold my breath and I get quiet. Okay, exhale. All right, that actually looks sort of normal. Yeah. So, that can use a little bit of work. That's fine. But then, then we're off to the races again. So, like, animate the left foot, animate the right foot. So, let's see. The other thing that I kind of want to happen is, like, there's like a little bit of like momentum as we like hit the ground. So maybe like the torso goes down and then back up. And also like here, like the feet hit and then we want the feet to reverse a little bit. And our feet aren't on the ground either. So this foot's going to go here, this foot's going to go here, this heel's going to go up like this. This is going to, whoop, don't do that. This will actually be, back here like that, maybe leaning forward. Maybe this one will be back like this. This one will be forward like this. So here's another example. So like the heel, I wasn't moving the heels at all. So now because I had animated that during the flip, the heels are all goofy. So let's just keyframe this to be something normal here. So this one goes down. That goes down here like this. This one goes down here. This one maybe was up like this. I seem to be like falling backwards for quite a while and then just pulls it off right at the end. All right, so how are we going to do this? Okay, so from here, we'll maybe say it's like, oh, and see now this heel is up again. Let's move this heel down. Here we go. So we're going to say this foot is going to push off. So this foot will be back here. We can adjust this later. Oops, rotate the heel like that. This foot is going to be, we're going to be like lunging a little bit. This hand is going to move here, rotate. This hand is going to move back here, rotate. Maybe even like out like this. So we're lunging upwards. Ugh. And maybe some of these things are like, all of these things can be a little later. A for all, if I select this. The other thing I'm kind of keeping an eye out for is like we do kind of want this to be like fully extended like this. What else is going to happen? This knee is actually this. Let's see. Let's do a front view and let's turn on wireframe like this. So this foot is actually going to come out sideways like this. The torso is going to begin to like rotate like this. This hand is going to start to like be put down like this onto the thing. Maybe our torso kind of bends forward a little bit like this, so the hand can go down onto that. And then this will have to be much lower because we're like vaulting over it. This will have to be like back here. This is where it gets a little awkward. But like vault over it. Hiya. And maybe you start to play with some of these hip things. I'm not going to do too much of it. The hand will be like pushing off this hand. Which hand? This hand will be like pushing off back this way. So the palm will be down. This foot's got to be way up like this. We're really showing off flexibility. heel kind of goes out like this. Oh gosh. This foot is like getting too crunched, but now we can step over it a little bit. And maybe the torso kind of starts to come up a little bit. And then over here, I'm just moving forward in time. The foot starts to come over like this. This foot's got to come back down in a normal way. So R rotate like this. Maybe the knee. So here, we haven't keyframed this knee at all. But I do think that this needs a spot here. So I'm just going to move that a tiny bit to kind of keep that knee, to add a key there. And I'm going to move the knee key back. Because I want the knee to come down this way. And what is this hand doing? This hand's got to be doing something a little more athletic. Just kind of flay out like that. Land it on our flip. Yes. Land down like this. And then the foot's got to come down. The torso comes up like this. This foot also comes down, rotates. We got to have our torso has to be rotated in a normal way. The knee has to come back like this. Foot has to come down like this. Rotate up like this. This hand does something normal. There we go. Hi. Yeah. Nice. Okay. We're at 50 minutes. So, I could add one more thing that it does. I'm considering this to be two things, and so I want your character to do three things basically. So it could be like, maybe I would add just like a slide at the end. So like this person's doing a flip down and then a vault over and then a slide down. So it doesn't have to be complicated things. It doesn't even have to be as complicated as a flip. Maybe you're just like jumping from one thing from 1 to 2 to 3. That's fine too. Once you kind of get this feeling right, yeah, I think that's actually like looking pretty good. I think I'm pretty pleased with myself. I definitely am not a very... Why won't this pause? Oh gosh. Oh, and I realized that I was just like talking, or that was playing, where I was recording myself just staring at that trying to fix it. Sorry, we got to see a little behind the scenes. For whatever reason, I couldn't pause the animation. Okay, here's what I was gonna say. So once you get things kind of timed out and just sort of the general movements looking good, this is when you would start to refine the animation a little bit. So for example, let me go back to object mode here. The first thing that I would definitely do is, so like right now the feet are just kind of shuffling. So what I'd start to do is I'd go in between kind of our steps here. So I would select this foot here, and halfway through it would be like up and heel down like this, and rotate a little bit like this, so that the foot is actually taking a step, and then R rotate that so it goes back to beginning. And R rotate this, so I'd have to be adding a few more keyframes like this, so that it starts to look normal. The other thing that you would start to do, and so I'd maybe do that next. So let's see, on the way back, now this foot, the right foot needs to go up, rotate like this, heel down. And you can be strategic with how you're like copying and pasting keyframes a little bit too, because like now look at this. Now this is way down here on the bottom, which is not what we wanted. So this should be here like this. And this should be up, please. No. This should be on the ground. So I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with the ankle rotating or with the heels rotating. But this is something you'll probably experience too. Now, the other thing to be aware of, and this happens all the time, you can, if you do an internet search and you're like, how do I stop the feet from moving around and sliding? Very painstakingly and very slowly. And it's there's no trick. I mean, you can if you do that type of internet search, you maybe will find some people doing fancy tricky things. The reality is, like, it's probably gonna your feet. So like here, if you imagine like the when someone walks, the foot that's like planted down stays perfectly still. So if we're looking at this foot here, you can see that it slides and it moves just a tiny bit. So one thing that you can do to kind of, or there's a couple things that you can do. First thing would be you can remove the easing. So with foot IKL, all these keyframes selected, I selected all those foot IKL keyframes like this. You could go tap the V key to change the handle type and do vector. And just so that it's like a little bit more like strict with how it's moving. And the other thing is, like, you may just need to go in like one frame at a time and just kind of move it yourself so that it stays pretty still. So like here I can see it's starting to slide, so just go right back there. Here I can see it's starting to move, so just you go like back there and just do it one frame at a time so it looks like it's planted. Like this. And like it's really sliding there. So like you may the other thing that you may do at this point, this would be an okay time to animate the to animate the root. So if you do A for all and you can select the root like this, you can also like animate the root. So if I go GY, you can move the character like this, GY, a little bit at a time, GY, to kind of also like line things up too, to keep. And you can use the guide marks here. You can also use like an annotation like this to like draw a line. You maybe wouldn't want it to be gray like that. You could pick a brighter color like red, orange, and be like, okay, the toe is right here, and you can just kind of follow along and just make sure. So if I get the root here again, if I just select the root, let's see, V. Whoops, I name my selection tool and just select root. There we go. I can just go one frame at a time and say like, yep, okay, you're here. Make sure the toe is going to be, whoops, it's going to be right there. Whoops, I keep grabbing the wrong thing. Okay. And then move, whoops, and I need to go G here. You have to be careful what window your cursor is in. Arrow key here for a frame. And then G to move it there like that. Arrow key for a frame. G to move it there like that. And so that's starting to get there. So this is like finishing touches is adding these keyframes, because once you have a keyframe on every frame, that's when it gets kind of like unmanageable and unwieldy and stuff like that. Sorry, just bumped the mic. What else was I going to say? Oh yeah, so annotations here. So like if you have color all over here and stuff like that, it is like part of your scene. But then if you tap the N key, it's down here in annotation. Nope, it's in view here, and it's under annotations, and you can delete these as such. So this can be helpful little markers. Sometimes I do that, yeah, especially with the feet, where it's like, yep, okay, here, the toe's gonna be right there. And so you go through one at a time. One frame at a time, or one step at a time, to make sure things aren't sliding. Okay, now this can seem daunting, and It is like animating characters is like a big process. It's a tough process. If you watch a Pixar movie, a feature length animated film has hundreds of people working on it, and there are people that just do walking animations, and then there's other people that just do face animations, and then there's other people that just do superhero cape animations, and there's other people that just do hair animation. So it's a big team working together. So your goal with this assignment 2, is just like start with the big chunks. Decide the 3 things that your character is going to do. Then, time permitting, go through and try to make it look a little bit better at each section. The other thing is, use the sky merged mesh rig if you wish. You can remove that, as I showed you, and use the Rigify thing if you want. If there's another character that you want to use that you found on the internet or that you created, you're welcome to use that, but just like be aware that it may not work as well as you hope. A final reminder. So I have a conflict in 2 weeks with our regularly scheduled Zoom. So this assignment, you'll submit in 2 weeks, but we're not going to be able to review it together right away. I will send everybody individual feedback. I'll make a little video just talking about your project. I'll look at it. And then because I want to give the same number of like office hour opportunities, you're welcome to schedule time with me if you want to talk to me over Zoom individually, or also I'll do like an office hour the following Thursday, which would be October 3rd, in case you want to ask me questions live. But as always, you can email me questions. So yeah, I apologize that I've got to cancel our Zoom in 2 weeks, but appreciate your flexibility, and I'll accommodate you in any way I can. So that's it for this week. Happy animating. So next week's lecture, we're just going to continue to kind of talk about character animation. I'm going to continue to kind of tweak this and refine it a little bit, and kind of look at just a couple more style choices that we can make with regards to character animation. So that's all. Good luck. Don't get too frustrated. Just like mess around with it. If you need to start over, start over. It's not a big deal. Okay.